Here we go. Awesome. Let's start at the beginning. So look, it's just scenarios. Okay. Because again, Adulting 101 is all about teaching you the things that everybody says is like, they never taught me that in school. I wish they spent more time teaching me about blah, blah, blah. Well, here I go. So that whenever you're living independently and on your own, maybe when something like this happens, you'll go, oh, I've heard of that before. I think I know what to do. So that's the purpose of this, is to give you real life things that you can use in the future or now, So first one is, and again, we're just going through scenarios because there's not like a presentation I'm going to give you on like, here's what you should do with your house or your apartment. I will start off by saying that when you do live independently, you're either going to own the place that you live in or you're going to rent it. Rent it means that someone else owns it, but you are paying them so that you can live there. An example would be like a condo or an apartment, although you could own your own condo, but most folks around here, you could live in a house that doesn't belong to you, but that you pay the person, you're renting it out. Or you can own the house, which means that you bought it, you used a loan to buy it from the bank, and you're just paying the bank back. You technically aren't paying a landlord. And so when I talk about in this thing, a landlord basically just means the person who is responsible for, the person who owns it. If it's not you, you would tend to have a landlord. I'll give you an example. So when I was in college, I lived in a dorm. If something went wrong in my dorm, I needed to call the maintenance people. So there would usually be like a maintenance number or an apartment complex number that you would call and say, my plumbing is out or my air conditioner is broken or whatever. If you live in an apartment or a condo situation, you will have like a landlord that you're supposed to call and tell them this stuff is happening. Now we can get into this, but some landlords are going to be on top of it and they'll fix it right up. Others will not fix it because that's money out of their pocket. You don't have to pay. If you're not owning the apartment, you're not going to have to pay for it to get fixed. It's not your apartment. Whoever owns it has to foot that bill. But if you own your own house, if you own the condo, you have to pay for it to get fixed. Now there's pros and cons to both. Like, do I rent? Do I own? But that's a whole nother conversation. But I'm going to give you both scenarios here. I'll say, in this situation, because some of these scenarios, it's like you need to call a landlord. Other situations is, okay, I don't have a landlord. It's just me, myself, and I. What do I do? So anyway, first off, we'll start off easy. And again, you guys feel free to put it in the chat. I'll give y'all like a couple of seconds to type something up. But if you guys are not interested in using the chat, don't worry. I'll just give it a beat and then I'll just start talking because I like to talk. Y'all know how I do. Anyway, so first scenario, and this happens a lot. There is an ant infestation in your kitchen. What do you think you should do in that situation? And if you're choosing to write something in the chat, feel free. Otherwise, I'll just say, this happens a lot with pests. This is just part of living in a place, and every situation is going to have something different. What's funny is I actually live in a property that's a summer camp, and some areas it's like 300 acres is what they own. Where I live has different pest situation than like down in the valley where there's a lot more humidity. They have a lot more mosquitoes there. I don't have a mosquito issue at my house, but I will have like roaches will come in whenever it rains or it gets really cold outside because they want to come in where it's warm. So it's just interesting to see. I don't have an ant issue, but I know somebody on the other side of the property who always has an ant issue. So you use rice traps. Everyone have never heard of a rice trap, but yeah, you could get a trap to solve the problem. Also make sure that if they have access to something that they can eat, that you dispose of it. This is going to go with a lot of pests. Most recently at my house, I had an issue with, there's going to be a lot of stories here because this is just what it is to live in a place as a human being, especially if you live in the woods or you live in a rural place like we do. You're going to have issues. Although in an urban situation, you're going to have stuff there too. But most recently we had those little teeny tiny fruit flies that will like just buzz around and make me crazy. Usually what happens is I will let fruit, because I have fruit sitting on my counter, I will let fruit sit a little bit too long and then I'll suddenly have a fruit fly infestation. And so this is not part of the presentation, but I'll give you all a little hack. If you ever have those little fruit flies, in your kitchen, you want to set out vinegar because it smells good to them. And then they'll go in and get stuck in the vinegar. And you can usually put like a little piece of clear wrap on top, poke some holes in it. They go down into it. They can't find their way out. So anyway, that's just a hack that I learned that's unrelated. Next, you guys are on it though. Traps are also great. The little ant traps. So if you own your place, then that's going to be your problem. And if it gets to be too bad, you might have to call pest control. If you have a landlord, I would definitely try to solve this one on your own first, because you don't want to call the landlord for every little tiny thing. Try to see if you can solve the problem on your own first. And then if it's not going away, fix it. All right. You have low water pressure through your house. What do you do if you have low water pressure? Means that the water doesn't come out very hard. So if you turn on the shower, it's like, turn on the sink, it's like, it's just not like that powerful, like boom, water pressure. What should you do? And this one's hard. I actually had to do my research on this one and see like, what would I do in that situation if my water just wasn't coming out fast anymore? And I have a picture to show you after this. All right. Here's one thing that you can do. So you're going to want to find something that looks like this. And here's the problem. Houses are all so different. Like we don't have like, I mean, sometimes you walk into a neighborhood and every house looks exactly the same. That's great. It looks like you just popped a house out of a box and it's like, oh, this one looks exactly like this one, looks exactly like this one. You'd probably be able to find out where it is. But a lot of houses were built at different decades, have been upgraded or had work done. Not everybody is going to look like this. This is like your water main. And in this situation, if your water pressure is pretty low, you need to figure out if your water main, which is like your shutoff valve, got accidentally halfway closed. That's the first thing you need to figure out. It's like, did my valve get partially closed? If it's partially closed, it's not going to let all the water out. So, but where do you find this? Well, most houses will have them in the basement or in like an under crawl space. That's where you'll find it. But some are going to be where the water meter is. And so you'd have to go and open it. Now, if that doesn't do it, then you're going to need to call a plumber. Like anything screwing up with your water, you're pretty much going to need to call a plumber. And again, if you're in an apartment, call your landlord and let them know my water pressure is terrible. Some apartments will have low water pressure on purpose to save money, because the more water you use, the more expensive it is. So you just got to find out where your water main is and then, see if it's gotten accidentally off or on or knocked one way or the other. Like how would that happen? I have no idea. Don't want to think about creatures knocking into my water main valve, but things happen. Go check that first. If that doesn't work, stop while you're ahead and then call somebody who knows what they're doing. All right, your toilet is overflowing. We actually had, what do you do in that situation? You can go ahead and type if you want, don't have to. We had the situation at our clubhouse facility one time, and this poor person had flushed the toilet and watched as it overflowed. First of all, be careful how much toilet paper you use, because that will definitely clog up your toilet. This person just watched the water come up and over the sides and then go onto the floor and just run out onto our, like, it's very low carpet, but onto our carpet where it just kept going, and then was like, oh, something has happened here. And we were like, oh my gosh, turn the water off. So that's my first thing to tell you, is that the water is about to overflow. You guys are one step ahead of me. Yes, we'll get there. The water's about to overflow. Here behind your toilet is the water to the toilet. Little valve right there. Turn it off. If you think it's about to overflow, or if it's overflowing, you don't want to make it worse, turn it off. So familiarize yourself with the knob on the back of the toilet, because this poor person basically just watched it happen. And then we were like, ah, we had to walk through this like gross puddle to turn it off. So 10 of 10, do not recommend. But I guess that would be 0 of 10, do not recommend. But that's the first thing. And then secondly, like once you've got it water off, then get yourself a plunger. I will also say that a plunger that looks like a little bowl is not the plunger you want. That's a sink plunger. You need a plunger. It's called a flange plunger, where it looks like a bowl and then it whoop flares out at the bottom. It looks like a bell shape almost. That's a toilet plunger. So if you have just a regular bowl plunger, it'll work, but not as good. Technically, a toilet plunger is the flange kind. Get in there, make a seal. Like you want to make sure that you like suctions to the, I don't know what that's called, but like where the water runs out. You want to like boop, and then just heave ho, man. Heave ho, and it will eventually unclog itself. Now, I say that, and if it really doesn't, guess what? Call a plumber or call your landlord. But I will say I've had a lot of experience unplugging toilets. This is one of my like jobs. When I was in college, I would come up and lead host retreat groups at the summer camp I actually live at now. Long story. But I would host these groups, and these groups, if they had any issues, I would have to go and fix it. And sometimes those issues were like, we have a scheduling problem, or sometimes these issues were like, we have a kid who's vegetarian. What can this kid eat? But sometimes the issues were like this, like a home maintenance issue, or they were having an issue with the bathroom in their cabin. I cannot tell you how many toilets I had to unclog with strangers having had used them. And I was just very familiar with what was going on there. So I won't get graphic, but it was pretty bad. Anyway, I've learned a lot about how the proper technique. So you really just don't be afraid, just do it and you'll be fine. But that's where I'm at. So yes, you guys got it. Put the stopper in. Interesting. I actually don't know a lot about the stopper. I know about reaching, like if you take the lid off the toilet, you can like pull up the little lever, not the flushing lever inside the toilet. There's like a little lever that will stop the water too, but then you have to hold it because as soon as you let it go, the water's going to keep going. So if that's what you're talking about, cool. If not, would love to know what the stopper is. All right. Your dish towel gets too close to the stove and it catches on fire. This one's a no-brainer. Don't even worry about the chat. Y'all know this. You need to just put water on it, right? Like take the towel, throw it in the sink, and turn the water on. Douse it with water. Now, that is not going to work for all the fires that could happen in your kitchen. If grease catches on fire, do you put water on it? I just gave it away. Yes. Okay. No, you do not put water on a grease fire. If it's on the stove, do not put water on it. If you're not sure, well, what is a grease fire? If it's on the stove and it catches on fire, do not put grease on it. I don't want to tell y'all wrong, so I want to make sure. I'm pretty sure it's baking powder that you need to throw on it, or baking soda, but I want to make sure I say the right one. What to put on a grease fire. So yeah, if it's on the stove, do not put water on it. Do not. Baking soda will extend it, but only, or extinguish it, but only if it's if it's a big old fire, you need to get out of Dodge. Okay. Don't be a hero, right? Or have a fire extinguisher and make sure your fire extinguisher is not expired, because they do expire. They're supposed to be recharged every year. Sometimes, some of them every 3 years, I think. But we get ours recharged every year at the clubhouse. And so you need to have one of those, and you know how to use it. You pull out the pen. It's kind of like a grenade. Pull out the pen, spray it. Otherwise, have a little thing of baking soda available. You can dump it on there, because if you have a grease fire, but something on the stove, do not put water on it. You will make it worse. It's hard to remember in the middle of a fire, though. I actually had that happen one time where I was cooking like some stir fry, and they were like, pour in, what was it, like alcohol to like make it flare up or whatever. And it was like, scared me half to death. I thought I'd set my house on fire, but it like burned out really quick, but it scared me. So, all right, you smell gas in the kitchen. First of all, it doesn't smell like car gasoline. So we're not talking car gasoline here. We're talking natural gas. What happens if you smell it in the kitchen? Turn all the eyes off on the stove. So yes, that's the first thing, is to make sure that all the appliances are off. I have a gas stove, so it's natural gas. And it smells like rotten eggs. So if you walk in, it smells like rotten eggs, especially out of nowhere. You're like, something really smells bad. You need to check to see if you've got a gas leak. And if it's my stove, the knobs are super sensitive. So you just like brush against one of these knobs, it'll boop, barely turn and start leaking gas into the air. We came home one time after being gone at work, and when we walked in, the smell of gas immediately hit us as soon as we walked in the door. And we were like, we got to turn around, because this is what you need to do. turn off any appliances. So if you've got the stove on, turn it off. Turn off, if you had the oven on, you turn that off. Anything that could cause a spark, because that stuff is super flammable. So as soon as we walked in the door that one time, smelling a bunch of gas, we opened the door and we walked back out and we said, we're not going to go in this house for a couple of hours. It's bad to breathe it in, but also any kind of spark could blow your house up. So if you smell gas, go evacuate immediately. Don't hang out there. Leave a door open in the process. I'm talking about a decent amount of gas. If you just smell a little bit, like just turn it off, maybe step outside, leave the window and door open. But like if it's very strong, you need to get out of there. And then maybe call the gas company and say, hey, maybe I got a big leak. If it's not your stove and it's coming from someplace else, that's also a problem. Next, you burned dinner and the smoke alarm is going off. Not all of these are life and death, y'all. Not all of these are life and death. Living in your house is not going to kill you, hopefully. So what happens if you burned your dinner and the smoke alarm's going off? This has happened to me more than one time, especially because I have a very sensitive smoke alarm, which is a good thing. Okay, so what you do here is go find the smoke alarm that's going off. And then my favorite trick is take my dish towel and just wave it in front of it to kind of chill it out. You just deal with it. Turn off the alarm, wave it around. First of all, and if it's burned, like y'all, the smell of burnt food can just like, y'all ever smell burnt popcorn, or if you, it's just bad. It's just bad. May I also say, if you hear nothing else out of me the entire time we're here right now, do not put aluminum foil in the microwave. Weird chemistry stuff happens there. It will like spark and catch on fire. Do not put aluminum foil. Retain that in your brain. I did that one time. That's what I'm saying. Just learn from all my mistakes is what I'm trying to do. But yeah, if you burn your dinner, just toss it, man. I did that one time, burnt my dinner, and was basically like, let's go eat fast food because this is terrible. But then with the smoke alarm going off, just make sure nothing's actually on fire. Wave a little towel in front of it, and that will chill it out. So, all right, you found a mouse in your house. What do you do if you find a mouse in your house? This has also happened to me now. It's been a long time, knock on wood right now, since I've seen a mouse in any place I've been living in. But maybe you don't see a mouse, but you may see their droppings, which is another thing. Or you might find a nest. Set a trap or call an exterminator. Y'all got this. Yes, yes, yes. While you wait for an exterminator, or if you're setting a trap, try to see if you can find their entryway, because mice have to have a way of getting into your house. And sometimes you can see how they're getting in. So if you find their entryway, block it off. Use a trap to catch them. And again, put away any food. Sometimes they'll gnaw into like boxes of cereal or whatever. Throw it out. Do not eat food that mice have also been eating. So you'll also see like if a place has been like abandoned for a while, or like it's like a winter home and no one uses it, you'll see where they like take little bits of paper and hair and fabric, and they'll just like make a little nest, usually in like a drawer or something. So you might see that in a place that's not used very often. Next, you spill grape juice on the carpet. There's a lot of different ways to deal with this. A lot of people have their hacks. I'm gonna show you my grandma's hack here in just a second. I'm gonna see if your maybe if my grandma's hack is the same as what you would do. There's a lot of different ways to go about this. All right, let's see. Shampoo the carpet or clean with a rag and soap. You guys are way ahead of me. This is my grandma's go-to item. It's like a joke in our family because anytime somebody spills anything on anything, she says, not just you need to go get Dawn soap. She says you need to get some Blue Dawn. She's all about, I don't know why the blue. I'm sure the green works fine. I'm sure the yellow works fine, but she's all about like, go get you some Blue Dawn and get it out. But because she says that, I always just buy the Blue Dawn because I'm like, well, you know, my grandma says. So anyway, if you got a stain, first of all, blot out the extra. So like get up the excess liquid, then get you like a rag, put some warm water on it and a couple of dots. This stuff goes a long way. You don't need a ton. And then just scrub into the carpet. Now, if you use too much of anything, you could stain your carpet further. So don't get too crazy. It's always okay to go back and do another round, right? Don't like dump a bucket of water on your carpet. That's going to be bad. Just dampen the rag, put the dots on it, maybe make a little bubbles as you scrub it out. let it dry, see what happens. You could also go rent a carpet shampooer from like a grocery store. They have them at the Walmart in Delanago. You can go rent it. Also at the dollar store, but not everybody has the ability to. You have to bring it back the next day. It's kind of a whole thing. But if you don't have that, just try your basic Dawn soap. There's carpet cleaner solution you can buy at the store. Anyway, all right, you accidentally break a window. What do you do if you accidentally break a window? Doesn't matter how you broke it. What happens if you accidentally break a window? You don't have to answer this one because this is going to very much depend on if you own the house or if you have a landlord. If you have a landlord, you're going to have to call them because they're going to have to come and get it fixed. They may actually charge you for that too. That might not be something that they will cover. They might say, oh, the cost of this window replacement is going to be $125. Thank you very much. So just depends. If you own the house, of course, you're going to have to pay for it. But then you would call, well, it just depends. Like you could either measure out what the window is and go get it. Yep. Order a window, tell who you need to. Yep. Go to Home Depot, go to a home store. I busted out my window. They'll either have someone come and install a new one for you. Or if it's just like one pane of a window, you see what I'm talking about? With like a pane, like if it's just one little section, you might be able to go get glass cut and then seal it. But that would be like, if you screwed it up, it would be bad. So just, don't get too crazy. All right, it's midnight and there's a loud party at the house next door. Or if you're in an apartment, there's a loud party at the apartment next door. What do you do? You will encounter this. This has happened. It will happen more. Ignore it. Let them live. Definitely an option. You can definitely just be like, let me put in my earplugs and go to sleep. Another thing you could do is you could just, this is kind of bold. Like if they're really being rowdy, you might could go over and just ask them to turn the music down or keep it quiet. There's a chance they're going to get really mad. If you do that, there's a chance they'll be like, oh, I'm so sorry. Boop. Worst case scenario, you would file a noise complaint, either with your landlord or with the cops. But again, that's kind of extreme. And then now you're making enemies with your neighbor. So you'd have to make sure it's like, worth doing that. If you decide to do that, most of the time we can just ignore it. Other times you can go through other channels before you go straight to the police. But it's a thing. All right. You're home alone and there's a large earthquake. We're just going to pretend we live in California for a second where this actually could happen. Or in Japan. They happen a lot in Japan. And there's like earthquake sirens that'll go off. There's like earthquake or tsunami. Like it's kind of wild. Like we don't have this. Do earthquakes happen in Georgia? Yes, they do, but they're usually pretty mild and usually pretty isolated. Like if because it's so mild, if you're not right near it, you're not going to feel it. And it's certainly not going to shake your whole house and like knock things over. But it's helpful to know this is kind of like going to go with a tornado too, which we have a lot of tornadoes. So worth knowing. All right. What you need to do in an earthquake, get yourself under a table or under some type of furniture. The biggest issue with an earthquake is things falling on you. Just like a tornado, you don't want stuff falling on you. That's a problem. Call 911 also because they're going to want to know that there was an earthquake. So, because people like to know that. But get yourself under a table or get yourself under something if you can. Now, let's say you're not near it, you're unable to. Then you're going to, like, let's say you're it's in the middle of the night. Cover yourself with as much blankets and pillows as you can. Because again, the issue is you don't want things falling on you. Try to get away from the windows and the walls. Same thing with a tornado. Go to the centermost area of your house where you're furthest away, because if the tornado is going to damage anything, it's going to damage the walls, going to blow out the glass, and it's going to take off the roof. So you don't want things falling on you. You also don't want to be near the exterior of the house. So it's also why you don't want to be outside for either of these things. All right. Your smoke alarms are making a high-pitched beeping noise all day. What do you do? This is an easy one. Gave y'all an easy one. So this one, if it's making beep and it's every like minute and a half that it does it and it's enough to make you kind of crazy, my suggestion is to handle it when it happens. This means your smoke detector's out of batteries or your batteries are dying. So go replace them. Take it off the wall. Have I done that before? Yes. Am I going to advise you to do that now? No, because we do need functioning smoke detectors. If you take it down, then you are no longer with a smoke detector, right? Until you get it fixed. So the easiest thing is to just put the battery in and put it back. Excuse me. All right. Large puddle of water on your kitchen floor. What do you do? Clean it up. Check for leaks. There you go. First of all, we need to find out where this is from. Did someone spill something? Okay, easy enough. Is there a leak? A bigger problem. If there is a leak, where's it coming from? Is it coming from under the sink? Is it coming from the roof? Is it coming from somewhere else we don't know about? So that's a big thing to figure out. If it's something like the fridge, if the fridge is leaking, okay, I gotta get, and that's gonna depend on what your next step is. If the roof is leaking, you got to call a roofer. If the sink is leaking, you got to call the plumber. If the fridge is leaking, you got to call the appliance guy or lady. So this very much depends. You just have to feel that one out. And if you have a landlord, you call a landlord. Your heater is not working and you are cold. Y'all are going to say, put clothes on, wear a blanket. Yes. Then what? So after you put your extra clothes on and double up your socks, get a hotel room till someone fixes it. Y'all don't like to be cold. I'm with you on that. If you're going to get a hotel room and you're like, I'm ready to swipe that card and go to the hotel, fine. If the hotel is not in the budget, then my suggestion is to just bundle up, stay in one room, and of course, get the heat and air guy or lady out there, because you're going to need to get that fixed. And that's not something you can do. You're going to have somebody who has more expertise in that area. And again, if it's a landlord, call the landlord. Hello, my heat is not working. So I will say it does take them a while to get out there sometimes. My air conditioning was broken for 7 weeks this summer. As you will recall, in the month of August, it was like 1,000 degrees outside and 1,000 degrees at night. And that was the time that my air decided not to work. It was probably like late July. And it was maybe 7 weeks, not 8, but it was many weeks that I was without air conditioning. So I put open a bunch of windows and we made it work, but it was a lot. All right. You burned your arm and it left a red mark. Not really home maintenance, but a little bit of like self-maintenance. First of all, let's not even worry about the red mark. What happens if you can tell you just burned yourself? I actually did this yesterday. I was making food. I don't think that, oh yeah, there it is. No, it's tiny. Yeah, it's tiny, but I burnt myself on a pot that I was boiling water in. And I picked it up and my arm bumped up against it. So what should you do with a burn? What should you do with a burn on your arm? What should you do with a burn on your arm? I won't say, I'm sorry. So first thing, it's the first thing. If it's a burn, there's a burn. Run cold water over it. Gold stars to y'all. That's exactly what you're supposed to do. A burn is not like a cut. A cut, you cut and that's it. It can't, the injury is over. You just are going to bleed. But if you burn yourself, even when you remove your arm from the thing, you could still be getting burned because the heat is still there. So you need to take the heat out of the burn. And you do that by running cool, not freezing cold, because that could actually hurt you too. Cool water on the burn will help draw the heat out so that it doesn't continue to injure you And then bandage it, put some ointment on it. You guys got this. You find a bird in the house. What do you do? You find a bird in the house. I had that happen to me the other day. By the other day, I meant like months ago, but I was working at home and I had my sunroom door open and I hear this like noise and it scared me because like that's not a noise I'm used to. And I look and there's just a bird sitting in my kid's playroom and I'm like, oh my God, what do I do? Again, you guys got this going on. Open the door and window and just let it out. Don't chase it. That's not good. You will scare it. You will freak it out. Just open doors and let it find its way out. Birds can find their way out. All right, you wake up in the middle of the night and your power's off. What do you do in that situation? Oh, I pressed the wrong button. All right, go back to sleep, deal with it in the morning if it's still a problem then. Fair enough. I will give you 2 tips of things I think are important because there's not much you can do with the power. You can't just go like put the power back on. That's not how it works. My suggestion, because the power is out all the time, or at least it used to be. It's been, knock on wood, not as bad in the past year or two, but previously we had a lot of issues with the power going out frequently. So at night though, make sure that you have a way to wake up, because if you got to go to work in the morning or you got to go somewhere in the morning, they probably don't care that your power was out. Like your job, if they're expecting you at 8 o'clock, you're gonna have to be there at 8 o'clock. And if you depend on your phone to wake you up and your phone is like low on battery, you need to have a game plan of how you're going to get up. My other suggestion is, and I don't really know, like if you have a classic alarm clock, great, or a watch you can set, great, or a portable charger that you can put your phone up to make sure you get up on time. Here's the other thing I do. I will go and on purpose I will flip a switch, even though the power's not on. Like in my bedroom, I'll flip the overhead light switch on so that when the power comes back on, I will know about it, because I'll be like, oh, I'm blinded by the lights because the power's on. So at least, there's also an app for, depending on where you get your power, it'll show you how widespread the power outage is and when it went out officially, and if there's a crew already working on it, because as soon as the crew gets there, I know it's not going to be that long. Problem with power out for an extended period of time is you could lose your food in your fridge, because if it gets to be too warm for too long, it'll spoil and you got to throw it out. So that's the bummer about a power being out. All right, carbon monoxide alarm is going off. What the heck is a carbon monoxide alarm? Not everybody has these, by the way. So you're probably like, what the heck? Maybe you do know about it. That's great. I'm not talking carbon dioxide. That's what we breathe out. That's what the trees like to breathe. Carbon monoxide is a different chemical. Yes, get out of the house. Carbon monoxide is an odorless, clear gas that can come from a variety of different things in your house. Usually when they're malfunctioning, like it's not often that this happens, but it can kill you and you won't know because you won't be able to see it in the air or smell it. Like it's a silent killer. So I got a little infographic. Oh, literally says silent killer right there. So you can start to feel a little sick before, which is like nausea, vomiting. So if you're starting to feel sick for no good reason, maybe, go get yourself checked out or walk outside for a while, see if that helps. Most of the time it's either a furnace or a stove or a fireplace or a water heater or an engine that's running. And men are 2 times more likely to be affected by it than women, which I thought was also kind of interesting. So, but if you have a carbon monoxide alarm and it's going off, get out. You do not want to stick around. That's bad. So, all right. You arrive home and you find, before you get out of your car, that the front door is open. What do you do? See, and I'm a nervous Nelly, and so I would immediately go worst case scenario with this one. This is not all the time the case. Let's see. All right. If you arrive home and you see the front door is open, my immediate thought, again, because I'm a nervous Nelly, I'm going to leap, worry lady, going to leap to the worst case scenario in a single bound. That's me. I'm going to go straight to the worst case scenario and be like, somebody broke into my house, is what I'm going to think. Now, more likely than not, the wind probably blew it open. But if you walk in and you see something suspicious, front door's wide open, it's locked, whatever, I would not enter the house. I would either call like the non-emergency 911 and say, listen, can somebody just come with me to check this out? Because there could be somebody in my house. I never do this. Or go with a buddy to check it out. But honestly, like that kind of freaks me out. I would just kind of stay in my car and probably call the cops and just be like, just make sure something's fine. But again, I'm a nervous Nelly. What you shouldn't do is be like, everything's fine. I'm gonna walk in. Approach with caution. Just because if you especially you're like, I don't know why my front door's open, then I would just, wait and maybe get some backup. You cut your hand, small, but it won't stop bleeding. What do you do about that? It's small, but it won't stop bleeding. All right, let's see what you guys have to say. Apply pressure and bandage it. Sure, yeah, that's absolutely what you do to a bleeding wound is apply pressure. That helps to stop the bleeding. Bandage it for sure. If you notice it's still not stopping, you got to go to urgent care. And if urgent care is closed, you got to go to the ER because you don't want to bleed out. And you might have, even if it's a small cut, you might have, cut into a vein or something, and that's going to need some attention. Or it might be deep, even if it's not big. So that's another thing. My husband actually was biking a year ago and he split his chin open and it wasn't very big and it didn't bleed very much, but it was definitely something that had to get stitched. So sometimes you can just take care of these things at home. Other times they need a little extra attention. All right. A burning candle caught the curtains on fire and the whole wall is now burning. What do you do? Don't overthink this one. Oh, there's my dog. Get out of the house, get your pets if you have any, call cops, fire extinguisher if you have it. Yeah, if it's that big, if it's like whole wall level big, grab the living creatures out of your house, people or pets, and get out. Call 911 immediately. Like if it's that big, if it's bigger than a small fire, that's beyond your abilities. Smaller than that, you might be able to fire extinguisher it. You just don't want to get yourself in danger. And the biggest issue would be, again, the breathing in of these chemicals. That's going to get you before the fire ever will. So you don't want to stay too long and breathe in something terrible. Let's do just a couple more. You are having serious chest pains. Had to take a friend to the hospital for this once, but it was a muscular spasm, like a chest wall muscular spasm. But it was freaky. What should you do if you're having serious chest pains? Deep breaths, maybe go to the hospital. Yeah, okay, see if you can like breathe through it. If it's not going away, if it's getting worse, ambulance, because it could be a heart attack. Happens. Now we're young, so it's not really going to be a thing right now. But hopefully. But it's like I said, my friend, she was like, I'm having terrible chest pains. We got to go. And so we went to the ER, spent half a night at the ER, and they were like, oh, you've got chest wall spasms. Because her heart was fine, but we don't play with chest pains. All right, you hear something outside your window. I picked the scary ones for the last one. Sorry, y'all. It's spooky season though. So you hear something outside. I almost said you hear something scary outside your window. Not scary, just something. You hear something outside your window. All right, interested to see what you guys say about this one. We live in the South, so maybe double check locks, but distract self with TV. Yes. So, and we live in the rural area. So like 9 times out of 10, if I'm asleep in my bedroom and I hear something outside my window, it's probably a possum. I have one that likes to hang around and get into my trash. He got into my trash last night, actually. I'm annoyed by him. But immediately I would think it was just an animal, right? Like you don't need to jump to every conclusion in the book. Probably nothing. Now, if you start to hear more noise or you start to hear like somebody's trying to open a door or a window or something, that's a different story. Go into like a bathroom you can lock and call the cops. Otherwise, if it's just a random noise, y'all, it's probably just an animal. Actually, in March, we have like a group of coyotes that will like circle back around. They have like a giant hunting area, and about springtime, March time, they end up back in our area of the woods, and they in the middle of the night will just scream. Like coyotes sound like children screaming, which is terrifying. And they scream in the middle of the night. They get really excited. I don't know what they're doing, but I will wake up and it will startle me to death. And then I'll be like, okay, it's just coyotes. But it's scary. But again, it's just part of living where we live, right? All right, you drop a glass and it shatters all over the floor. We're gonna do maybe like 3 more of these, 3 more, and then that's it. You guys have been really good sports. You know a lot about doing stuff around the house. You guys are independent living masters. All right, what do you do if you drop a glass on the floor? It's happened. I have small children. Yeah, clean up with a broom. Absolutely. So, and I'll tell you another trick that I have. All right. But first, glass is like it's like a thing. I once was on like a trash pick. I know I have so many stories. Just bear with me. I was once on a trash pickup with a group, and there was a girl who was picking up glass on the off the street. Somebody had thrown like a bottle and it had broken, and she's picking it up. It's fine. She put it in her trash bag, and she flung the trash bag over her shoulder. And I was walking right behind her, and I literally watched the glass poke out of the bag and slice down her leg. And it sliced down her leg like butter. And I was shocked. And we were like, oh my gosh. So, not trying to gross you out. All that to say, glass can be really dangerous, you know? So, if you drop something on the floor, if it's a big piece, you might be able to pick it up. But like the best thing is like exactly what you said, to sweep it up with a broom. And then hang on just a second, I got somebody coming in just for this last little bit. Hi, Abby. Ooh. So if you drop a glass on the floor, we're doing like home scenarios. Abby, I know you're coming in right here at the very end, but we're glad to have you anyway. And I'm basically quizzing you guys on like what you think, which you should do for each scenario. So we're at the one right now where if you drop a glass on the floor and the other participant said to sweep it up with a broom. Yep, little dustpan, great. And then here's my trick, because sometimes glass shatters into itty bitty teeny tiny pieces. I have had glass stuck in my foot before. Yes, put your shoes on, because glass stuck in your skin is so painful. Not like huge piece, but like a little piece that then you walk on, you can't even really see where it is because it's clear, right? And it's so small. You want to get those tiny pieces out. Get a lint roller, you know, these little sticky things that you get lint off and you roll yourself. Get a lint roller and roll the floor where the glass was, and it will pick up all those little pieces. Keep that tool in the back of your mind. All right, 2 more people and then we're done. Here we go. It's raining and the roof is leaking onto the kitchen floor. So we had suspicious water on the floor earlier. Now it's raining and we can see it's coming from the roof. What do we do? What y'all got? What y'all got? Get a bucket to catch the drip for now. Call someone, try to get it fixed. Change all the bucket determine needs. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. That's something that can be very damaging if you let it go on, because the water damage will ruin your materials in your house. It will ruin the integrity. It could cause foundational issues if water gets in the foundation and cracks it. Water can be really bad stuff, y'all. So just, yes, you need to call a roofer and get that fixed ASAP. All right, bonus question. What if your roof is leaking in the winter? What's happening there? And this is not just a roof problem. This is like a specific issue that might cause it to leak in the winter. On like, why in the winter time might this happen? I'll give you like 15 seconds to come up with a guess. Ice melting, snow melts on the roof. Yes. So there's a lot of precipitation. Georgia is basically tropical. We have a dry season and a rainy season, right? Like our summer is a dry season, but then like the winter is like rains every day. In the winter, though, specifically, what's happening is you need to clean out your gutters. Leaves are falling all over the place right now. They will fall into the gutters. And if you don't keep your gutters cleaned out, then the water has no place to go. The gutter is supposed to direct the water down the house. No place for it to go, and it will back up. It can also cause a lot of bugs, and a lot of like animals, like mice love that standing water they can drink out of. So yes, it's and also because there's so much rain and snow, not all the time snow, most of the time it's just gross rain. It will rain a lot and it will cause a lot of issues in the wintertime. So you want to take care of your gutters in the fall after all the leaves have fallen, so that you don't have a problem in the wintertime. All right, one more, people. I'm gonna find a good one. All right, here's a good one. You notice that when you're home, you sneeze and you cough. It's like your home is making you sick. What do you do? What could that be? Let's see what we got. Okay, so check for mold or consider allergies. Go to the doctor. But yes, so it could be allergies, could be mold. A lot of older houses, or if you are living in a wet, humid area, mold will grow off stuff. Another thing you need to think about, and this is the part I want you to take away from this, is your house has air filters in it, like these big square air filters. There's usually like a vent in front that you open. You take a Change your air filters. I did not change those nearly enough. And I recently went to the doctor and found out I'm allergic to like literally 19 things is what I tested positive for. And I know I'm allergic to more they didn't test for. So confirmed 19, although I know I'm allergic to technically 21 things. 21 things. What? Anyway, a lot of those things live in my house with me. Dogs, dust, all that stuff. I don't have a cat, but anyway, the air filter will help to catch all that stuff that's blowing around your house. But if you don't ever change your air filter, it's just going to sit and float around your house, dust and whatever, grime, allergens of any sort. So you need to change out your air filter. You also need to be washing your sheets and washing your pillowcase all the time, because if you are allergic to dust, if you are allergic to something, if you're, have a bunch of accumulated hair or whatever, you need to clean those things, because the cleaning of the linens is going to help you breathe better too. And also having a clean pillowcase will help your skin as well, because if you sleep, because we sweat on our pillows at night, and it will clog your skin if you don't wash your pillowcase often. So make sure you're washing your pillowcase, but also cleaning the air filter. They're a little pricey, but about every month you need to clean them out, take them out, put a new one in. Otherwise you're just gonna have a bunch of dust and stuff floating around your house, and it will make you sneeze and cough. The other thing thinking about is mold. If you do have mold, that's a bad thing, and someone will have to come and fix your house with the mold. You're not able to, and I'm not talking about mildew in the shower. I'm talking like black mold that grows behind the wall sometimes if there's too much water in the air. That's a bad thing. So that's something you would need a professional to come out and fix. But anyway, that's all I had. I have more of these, but you guys have got it. Cockroaches. We will stop there. We do not need to talk about no cockroaches. So anyway, thanks for hanging out with me, y'all. I appreciate it so much. I'm going to stop